Today we're tackling the 2022 Edexcel Foundation Maths paper, the non-calculator edition. So let's make maths easy and have a bit of fun along the way. Let's kick off with question 1. It's a fantastic opportunity to master decimals and fractions. We're diving into a classic question. How do you write the decimal 0.3 as a fraction? Decimals and fractions are just two different ways of expressing the same idea. Think of them as two different languages that say the same thing. But what's really going on when we convert 0.3 into a fraction? First, write down the decimal, 0.3. The second thing that we do is count how many digits come after the decimal point. Here we have one digit, so our denominator will equals 10. If we had two digits after the decimal point, our denominator would be 100. And if we had three digits after the decimal point, our denominator would be 1000. Our step 3 is that we write any digits after the decimal point as our numerator. So our numerator will equals 3. And step 4 is that we combine our step 2 and step 3. We write our numerator on top and our denominator at the bottom. Step 5 would be to simplify if possible. In this case, 3 and 10 have no common factors other than 1. So 3/10 is already in its simplest form. And that's our answer. Let's see another way to do this. Step 1 would be to write the decimal as a fraction by dividing by 1. So we would write 0.3 divided by 1. The second thing that we do is we convert the numerator to an integer. We do this by multiplying by a multiple of 10. The trick here is to see how many digits come after the decimal point. As there is one digit after the decimal point, we only need to multiply by 10. So we write 0.3 times 10 over 1 times 10. The reason we have multiplied top and bottom by 10 is because whatever we do to the top, we must do to the bottom. And then we simplify our answer down. 0.3 times 10 equals 3 and 1 times 10 equals 10. As before, we cannot simplify any further as 3 and 10 have no common factors other than 1. Now we could write our answer down as 3/10. Let's imagine what 0.3 as a fraction really means. Picture this chocolate bar. We're going to split this chocolate bar into 10 equal pieces. Each of these pieces represents 1/10 of the whole bar. Now if we take 3 of these pieces, we have 3/10 of the chocolate bar. It's like saying we have 3 out of the 10 equal parts of the chocolate bar. And that's question 1 sorted. You're doing great, and you've got what it takes to turn any decimal to a fraction. Let's move on to question 2. For question 2, we're asked to figure out what 3 squared means. So what does this little expression actually mean? Well, 3 squared is what we call a power. It is also referred to as an exponent, index, or an order. Here, the 3 is the base. This is the number we're working with. And the 2, that's the power. In simpler terms, the base is the number we're going to multiply, and the power tells us how many times we need to multiply the base by itself. So when we see 3 squared, it means we take the base 3 and multiply by itself because the power is 2. Now, let's do the maths. We multiply 3 by 3, and what do we get? 9. So 3 squared equals 9. But wait, why do we call it squared? Great question. The term comes from the idea of a square, a shape where all sides are equal. Imagine a square where each side is 3 units long. To find the area of this square, we multiply the length of one side by itself. So 3 times 3, and what do we get? 9 units squared. That's why we say 3 squared to mean 3 to the power of 2. It's like we're finding the area of a square that has sides of length 3. And there you have it. By following these simple steps, we see that 3 squared equals 9. And now you know why we call it squared. Fantastic work solving that power problem. You're really getting the hang of it. Now, let's keep that momentum going as we move on to question 3. Question 3 asks us to work out what 20 divided by brackets 3 plus 2. The question is all about understanding something called the order of operations. You might have heard of it as BIDMAS, PEMDAS, or BODMAS. It's a set of rules that tells us the correct order to solve different parts of a maths problem. BIDMAS stands for brackets, indices, division, multiplication, and addition and subtraction. It's like a checklist that helps us know what to do first. In the first row we have brackets, parentheses, brackets. The second row we have index, exponent, order. Third row we have division and multiplication. And the final row we have addition and subtraction. Alright, let's break this down step by step to make sure we get it right. The first thing to remember is that we always read our maths expressions from left to right, and that we read BIDMAS from top to bottom. I'm going to rewrite the expression. As I go about working out my expression, I'll go down the checklist to make sure we follow the correct order of operations. We first solve the expression inside the brackets. Here we have 3 plus 2, which equals 5. We can replace the expression in the brackets with 5, so our equation now looks like 20 divided by brackets 5. Since we don't need the brackets anymore, we can remove them and we're left with 20 divided by 5. Now we perform the division. 20 divided by 5 gives us 4, which is our answer. So by following these simple steps, we find that 20 divided by 3 plus 2 equals 4. The key here is to always solve what's inside the brackets first, making sure we follow the correct order of operations. To understand why order is important, imagine you're following your grandma's favorite cake recipe. She tells you to mix the flour and melted butter first, then add the eggs, milk and sugar, and finally bake it. If you mix everything together in the wrong order, your cake might not turn out right. Just like following grandma's recipe, step by step to get a perfect cake, following the order of operation in maths ensures you get the correct answer every time. Great job on that last problem. You're really getting the hang of using order of operations. Let's move on to question 4. Question 4 asks us to write down a factor of 60 that is between 8 and 14. This question is about understanding factors. A factor is a number that divides another number evenly without leaving a remainder. Sometimes people confuse factors and multiples. Multiples of our number are what you get when you multiply the number by an integer. For example, the multiples of 60 are 1 times 60, 2 times 60, 3 times 60, which gives us the answers 60, 120, 180, and so on. But here, we're finding the factors of 60. Let's break this down step by step to find our factor. To find the factors of 60, we list the factor pairs. 1 times 60 equals 60, 2 times 30 equals 60, 3 times 20 equals 60, 4 times 15 equals 60, 5 times 12 equals 60, and 6 times 10 equals 60. Now, from our list of factors, we need to find which one falls between 8 and 14. If we look at the two columns, we will see that 10 and 12 do. So we can pick either one of these as our answer. I'm going to pick 10 as my answer. One way to visualize this is to imagine you have 60 cookies and you want to share them with your friends in different ways so that everyone gets the same number of cookies with none left over. If you share the cookie with one friend, they'll get all 60 cookies. So 1 times 60 equals 60. This means 1 and 60 are factor pairs. If you share the cookies with two friends, you can give each friend 30 cookies. So 2 times 30 equals 60. This means 2 and 30 are factor pairs. If you share the cookie with 3 friends, you can give each friend 20 cookies. So 3 times 20 equals 60. This means 3 and 20 are factor pairs, and so on. So, as we've seen, the factor of 60 that falls between 8 and 14 are 10 and 12, and I've chosen 10 as the answer. Understanding how to identify factors and multiples is crucial for solving these kinds of problems.